Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to the 21-day challenge to become contract ready. We are back for another exciting session on getting your business ready for contracts. Are you ready? I hope that you are because you know that I certainly am. I am your host, Kimberly Kelly Roth, the expert that trains small businesses to build $1 million enterprises utilizing corporate and government contracts. Let's go ahead and jump right in because we have a lot to cover as we usually do. I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can go ahead and view what I'm saying and we can get into this challenge. Okay, so today, you guys, as you know, this is probably one of my favorite topics, which is just talking about financials that count. This is a very important topic because one of the things that I know about small business owners is most of you go into business because you have something that you absolutely love doing, and because there is maybe something you're working from a passion or what have you. A lot of times, you guys don't want to deal with the financials, and unfortunately, that is a reason why a lot of businesses struggle because they refuse to deal with the financial issues. So, and then as you're preparing to go for contract opportunities, this is one of the main things that stops small businesses really from entering that space. So I want to make sure that we spend plenty of time today just getting into just a couple of basic things that you really need to know. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So as I shared with you, the number one reason that most businesses fail is because of financials. But why is this? Why do so many businesses fail because of financials? And I know what many of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, maybe we just didn't make enough money. Maybe we just didn't generate enough sales. But you know, they don't say that the number one reason the small businesses fail is because of lack of sales. They say the number one reason is because of financials. And why is this? I really believe it's because you don't watch your money. I hear what you guys are saying because I know I can already hear the rebuttals, but the reality is most small businesses, you're not watching your money. You might be counting your money, but you're not watching it. And there's a big difference between the two. Because when you're counting the money, you're checking to see what your balances are, how much can you spend next month, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're watching it, you're truly zoning in so that you can understand what it's going to take in the story that your financials are telling you. You must learn as business owners to have a strong financial system that monitors your financials so that you have a clear picture of the story that it paints. And then you're going to know what actions you should take as you interpret the information. I know for some of you, you're saying, Kimberly, that's way over our head. Don't worry about it. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And the thing is, if you start to manage and really monitor your financials properly, what it's going to do is it's going to open the door for you guys to be able to get an infusion of capital. Most small businesses, I know, they don't like to have the whole capital conversation, but it's an important one because I know, many of us, we're forced to bootstrap because traditionally lending is not that friendly to small businesses. But I'm going to encourage you to get your business in position, stop being afraid, because I know, it's fear that causes a lot of small businesses not to pursue capital because quite frankly, you've leveraged yourself trying to bootstrap. Maybe your credit has gone down, is not where it needs to be. So you just avoid the whole capital thing altogether. But the truth of the matter is, capital will actually allow you to reach your goals a lot faster than bootstrapping. So, but I know the question that's going through your mind, but how do you get the capital? So we're going to talk about that a little bit today because I really want you guys to understand because I was sitting in your exact same shoes. I had the exact same experience, but understand at this point, we had $1 million contract that we were already into. And it was during that time that we learned that we had to have capital. Okay. So I hear, a lot of you saying, Kimberly, yes, I want to go with you on the journey to $1 million enterprise. But you got to understand that if you land those $1 million contracts, you have to have capital. You cannot do it without capital unless you've got a rich uncle or inheritance somewhere that you're not talking about. But in any case, our story was we actually got the $1 million contract. We had the full team. We had the people. And In some cases, it seemed like everything was going to be fine, but we learned very early on that if we were going to continue making payroll, we had to get some capital. So that's exactly what we did. And while we tried the traditional routes, probably just like many of you, it just didn't work out for us. So we ended up going with a factoring company. And I'll talk to you guys just a little bit about that. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but that company was able to factor our invoices based on our financials in order to help us get the capital that we need. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to talk about financials so that you guys can be in position to be able to ultimately understand the financial needs of your business, but also position your business so that you can get some capital in the long or short run. Okay, so let's jump right into our big tip for today. So your big tip for today is I want you to focus on keeping strong financial records so that you can access the necessary capital for these contract opportunities. As I said to you guys, you're going to need capital for these contracts, so there's no getting around it. So what I want to talk to you, I really want you to encourage you to look at today is we're going to talk about your accounting, because I want you to look at your things like your record keeping, your financial statements, and your payroll. And I know most small businesses like to avoid this stuff, but you cannot, okay? I also want to talk a little bit about capital. And like I said, let's just address this elephant in the room when it comes to capital and contracts. You will need capital. The question is, how do you qualify when most small businesses are turned down for capital? So there's a few things that you guys can definitely consider right now. Because of the pandemic, you got PPP loans that are available, which are amazing because they do not require you to, have the traditional things in place. And then there's also the EIDL, which is by the SBA. Both of those loans you can access through the SBA. I've heard many small businesses say they weren't able to get it, or they didn't believe they would qualify. And my advice to everyone is apply and let them tell you no. And if they tell you no, ask them why, okay? So there are a lot of different, options for factoring and for getting capital. We're not going to go into a whole lot of that because we just don't have enough time to cover it. But you can look at options like factoring. There are a lot of community CDFIs out there. Those are basically community development financial institutions that were designed to actually support small businesses and provide you with some assistance in acquiring capital. And then you've got the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And then, last but not least is your banking relationships. One of the things I'm always encouraging small business to do is to establish relationships with your bank. And I'm going to tell you kind of like some of the things that you can do in order to do that, excuse me, so that as you begin to need like lines of credit, you already have yourselves established. And then finally, your credit. And again, these two topics, capital and credit, I'm only going to brush over a little bit because I really want to get into the nitty-gritty of your financials. But you're going to need to use your personal credit to back your business in the beginning, okay? That's typically the way it works. You can begin to build some business credit using like your Dun & Bradstreet. And for those of you who are struggling with credit, look into credit repair. There are a lot of different programs out there. I would encourage you to look for things that are reparable or go by a referral where people can actually clean up your credit and get it to the point where you can qualify for the capital that you need. So, and you guys know I brushed really quickly over the whole Dun & Bradstreet thing. But anyway, we are running short on time, so let me get into our keys. So key number one is you've got to have strong record keeping. So your bookkeeping and your accounting is going to be really important. These are the financial products and the statements that you need to understand that position and the condition of your company. So it's sad to me when I talk to a small business and they don't know what their sales are. They don't know what their accounts payables or receivables are. Those are the things that you have to know. And in order to really understand them, you guys, first and foremost, everything starts with your bank statements, okay? Which means that as you are conducting business and transactions and so forth, every transaction has to go into your bank account. I don't care if you collected $5 for today, let it go into your bank account, because what it's doing is it's keeping a record and it's showing that you are actually continue to generate sales. That becomes important because what it's going to do is to help you in the long run as you need to prove that your business is viable and continuing to show revenue. Key number 2. There are key financial records are going to include your company bank statements, your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your statement of cash flows, and your payroll report. These will enable you to qualify for capital. Now, I threw in there. Most of you know what a profit and loss is. Basically, it just shows the income that comes into your company as well as your expenses. Okay, that's an easy one. The balance sheet basically shows your assets, your liabilities, and what you've invested into the company. Okay, and then your statement of cash flow is basically showing how much cash is going through your company. But the one that a lot of people are getting held up in qualifying for the PPP is basically their payroll report. A lot of you small business owners, I understand, maybe you don't feel like you have enough revenue to run payroll, but there are some simple things that you can do. And one thing that I always encourage business owners to do is write a check to yourself. So you may not be able to physically run payroll, but you can write a check to yourself. You can write a check to yourself either every week, every month, etc. But the key here is do not use your business account for your personal expenses and do not use your personal account for your business expenses. Anytime you need to transact business or personal, transact them separate, which means that if you have to write a check from your personal account and be reimbursed by the business, you're certainly welcome to do that, but that transaction needs to happen and vice versa. Then, and I apologize for moving so quickly because I see we are running out of time. Key number 3 is I want you to start working right away to position your business for capital. There are several forms. And with different requirements of capital, okay? Don't neglect your personal credit and work to build it. So right now, you guys, so maybe you're looking at a situation where you're feeling like, you know what, I need to work on my credit. I don't quite have my financials in place. There's a lot of things that I still need to do and build up in order to be able to qualify for capital. You guys start working on that now, okay? Make sure with your business bank account, make sure you're depositing all your transactions. So your bank statements are showing everything that you're doing in business. You're paying your expenses out of it. You're collecting your income there. So that's where it starts. That's how you start to build a relationship with your bank, and you do it long-term and you stay consistent with that. Start working on your credit if you know you need to improve that. Dun & Bradstreet, that's a good way to start register with your Dun & Bradstreet, start working on your business credit. You can actually start getting business credit cards, maybe through some of the smaller companies, maybe like Home Depot, Office Depot, places like that. So that'll start getting your business credit rolling. But as you do that, now that's going to help you to qualify for capital. The key is you've got to have all this stuff in place. You've got to have appropriate financials. You've got to be able to pull financial statements from the financial records that you're actually keeping. And then you've got to be able to show that through your bank statements that you're actually transacting business, okay? So those are the financials that you really need to focus on in terms of your business. I know we're at the top of the hour, our session, so let me just jump into what your small task is for today. And today is not going to feel so small. I'm going to tell you that right now. But what I want you to do is start working to get your business in position for capital, okay? If you want, and that's the bottom line. You have to start working on it right now. You guys, again, as I share with you, in this 15-minute session, there is not a lot that I can cover. But if you really want to go deep with me and you really want to be able to understand how to get your business in position for contracts, you've got to join me. If you want to create $1 million enterprise using corporate and government contracts, register for my One Contract Away webinar. And it talks about our Accelerate program. The beautiful thing about these programs that I offer you guys, I work directly and I do business and I speak to and collaborate directly with contracting departments and organizations. They have told me exactly some of the things that they look for, and I try to make sure that it's inside of these programs so that as you guys go to apply for these contract opportunities, you've already been prepped. There are no surprises. You know exactly what to do. You know what to do and how to approach them. Okay. So we'll keep talking about this in the next few days, but thank you guys for joining me today for day 14 of the 21-day challenge. I want to make sure that everyone is tuning in. You're here tomorrow, same time, same place, 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for day 15 of the 21-day challenge. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about meeting business tax requirements. Don't you guys get scared and not show up tomorrow. I expect you to be here. We're going to talk about business taxes because you do have a requirement that you have to meet for business taxes in order to qualify for those contracts as well. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I look forward to seeing everyone.